Hello and welcome to this CATIA prismatic machining video. In this video we are going to continue machining this part of the second setup. The last operation that we machined was this pocketing operation. So I'm going to right click on the pocketing object. I'm going to replay the toolpath. So we machined this as an open pocket. And what we're going to do is continue to move downwards into this complicated pocket or complex pocket in here. So what we're looking at machining next is going to look like this. So because as we descend down, this starts to get in the way, and it has to be considered as an island. This second level down also is an open pocket, which we will take into account as we move down. We're going to leave machining allowance on this island here, 10 thousandths. So that when we machine out the pocket here, that's when we're going to finish this off. And also, as we did with the pocket above this, we're going to leave 10 thousandths so that we can finish that as we machine around this part later on when we finish it off. So let's go back to our PPR tree. And as I've done in the past, I'm going to let you take a crack at this. Since you now know how to create an open pocket, you have the knowledge and skill, hopefully, to be able to do that. I'm going to let you take a crack at it first, and then once you're done with that, I'm going to step you through it so you can see some of the things you might have missed. So please go ahead and do this, add that second pocket, and we'll be back with you in a few seconds. Okay, so let's see how you did. So if you were really thinking and paying attention to what we've done before, then you would have realized that just like what we did over on this side, one can copy this open pocket and then make the appropriate modifications. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and right click and copy, and then let's right click and paste. So now we have an identical operation that overlaps the first. Let's double click on this now and just figure out what we need to change so that we can machine this lower pocket. So we go to the second tab because we always work on the geometry first. So we have the issue of what is our top and bottom. These have changed because we're now machining at the lower level. So let's remove the top and let's remove the bottom. And then for the top, we're going to select the top of the island. And then for the bottom, we're going to select this ledge here. So this is now the bottom of that pocket. And we need to be careful here, a little bit careful, because when I selected this ledge, it went ahead and selected an island, but the island is not the right island. So looking at the image, you might be confused and think, well, okay, the island is selected. No, the island that was selected is the inner boundary of that face, which is this region here. Actually, it goes all the way around. So it's a very complicated inner island. So that's wrong. What we want to do is we want to remove all islands. And then we want to select the edges. So there are 8 edges here that make up the boundary of the island. Again, you can use these options to speed things up. Doesn't save you too much time in this case. Okay, so we now have an island defined, as well as our correct top and bottom. In addition to this, we need to pay a little bit of attention to finishing. So again, a lot of this is not going to be there when you're done because you're going to machine this pocket out. So there's a question as to whether or not you want to finish, or do you want to come back in and add something that specifically finishes this ledge here. I'm just going to, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to add a finishing pass on the bottom, even though it's a little bit inefficient. So I need to make sure that I change this offset on bottom back to 0. Remember, we set that so that we could leave some material on the previous pocket here to finish. So just make sure you set this back to 0. So I'm going to double click, set this back to 0. So it means I'm going to add a finishing pass on the bottom, and it's going to clean up even though it's going to be part of it, a lot of it's going to be removed, it will finish this. I'm going to leave the 10,000ths on the hard offset on the hard boundary because I do want to, remember, leave some material here, finishing allowance for machining this last feature, this last little step that runs around this large island here. The tool is going to be the same. The speeds and feeds are going to be the same. The approaches, we're going to leave those the same, as well as the machining strategy. So the only thing that we really needed to modify here was some of the geometric elements. But let's first of all see what the toolpath looks like, because this island is something new and that could impact the back and forth toolpath generation. So let's look at it and see. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Again, we're starting here with the circular lead-in, working our way back across. The toolpath is avoiding the island, and of course there is no finishing pass on the island since we've left 10,000ths and we haven't specified a finishing pass, which is something that we need to do, by the way. But this looks pretty good. Let's go and set that finishing pass. And we want to set it only on the bottom so that we can finish this ledge. So 5 side finish, or finish bottom only, sorry. And we're going to leave 10,000ths there for that. Let's generate our toolpath. Notice this here. So the reason why we're getting that, and also notice that things have changed a little bit here too in terms of where the tool is ending, and that is because these toolpaths are all now connected. So when the tool gets here, it actually has to reposition or work its way over. It actually works its way over to here, so it's actually finishing here. I missed this previously, which is fine. There's no issue here or problem here. The finishing pass approach, let's see where that is. So I'm going to fast forward all the way through and then back up one step. Sorry, let's go to plane by plane. Getting ahead of myself here. And let's go back up. Let's go all the way forward. Let's back up one step. So this is part of the finishing pass. So the finishing pass is actually broken up. So there is this approach to the finish. It's a circular approach. And then there's this back and forth. And then there's a retract, a circular lead out, and then a wrap it up to the retract plane that we set. And then if we back up one more step, we can see that there is another piece of the finishing on the bottom, and that ends, looks like that ends over here, and it looks like there is just a retract move, and then there's a helical move in, which does this approach here, and then this, which connects to this approach, and then does the final piece of the finishing pass. So again, one can change this. It doesn't look like there's anything to be too concerned about regarding collision here, but one can certainly clean that up if one wants to. The one thing on this side that one may want to change to be consistent is where does this circular lead-in take place. So again, we may want to flip the orientation of this so that it's on the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to our finish pass approach. So we have this, let's double click on this, and let's set this to 180 degrees. We also have this helical lead-in, which we don't need. So let's click on this and delete it, and then just add an axial of 75 thousandths, which what we did for the return between levels. Let's generate our toolpaths, and now you can see that the finish pass approach. So let's rewind. Let's go to the end. Let's back up one step, a couple of steps. So if you look closely, you can see in gray, again, CATIA does the strange thing where it changes some of the approach to gray. You can see how the tool is moving between those pieces, two pieces of the finishing pass, that light blue tool pad. Now, one thing to be mindful of is the fact that you have an island here. So it looks like the tool is repositioning clear of that island, but you could have a situation if you weren't paying attention where the tool could run through the island, and then you would have to get involved in trying to play around with things to avoid that. One thing one could do is that axial approach, axial part of the approach, instead of it being 75 thousandths, we could use a approach from a plane and then set that to be the top of the island plus a little bit more. So that would make sure that the tool is lifting above the island before it repositions to the next part of the tool pad. So let's go ahead and let's just go back from our plane by plane to continuous replay of tool pad, and let's just do our materials removal simulation. Let's just run through this and make sure we don't have any gouging or gouging or collisions actually taking place. So it looks like there's no gouging. However, it is apparent that there is a lot more left material around this island than one would like. And that's one of the limitations of back and forth machining versus the helical inward or helical outward. Helical inward, helical outward tend to follow the contours of both the boundaries, the outer boundaries and islands a lot more closely than the back and forth type machining. So one could certainly change the style from back and forth to back to one of those other strategies. But another way to deal with this is to add a profiling operation afterwards, just to quickly clean up this left material. So we're going to use that strategy just so that you can see different ways in which you can do things. So let's hit OK. And let's go ahead and accept this as our open pocket operation. And then just to kind of deal with this island, let's go ahead quickly and add a profiling operation right after our pocketing. And we're going to quickly select this as our top. Our bottom is going to be this here. And we're going to remove the contours that it selected incorrectly. And then just go around and select. I'm going to use the edge selection tool to speed things up. So I ran around, selected the edge at the back. So all the edges have been picked. And as far as the tool goes, none of these options will change. We may have to change some of these approaches, but let's go to the first tab first. For step over, I'm just going to go and do it in a single pass. So let's change our paths to 1. We're going to go radial first, and distance between paths 45. This is not going to come to play if we only have one path. Let's look at our finishing. We're going to leave some material for finishing. We discussed this as part of the previous pocketing operation, to leave 10 thousandths to finish with the bottom. So we have to go back to the geometry tab to leave that and make sure that that's set. So we want to do an offset on our contour. We want to leave 10 thousandths on it so we can finish that later on as part of the bottom pocket. And then for finishing, we don't want to do any finishing on this because we're leaving material that will be done at a later point in time. The axial step over, 50 thousandths is fine. So we're going to do 6 levels to drop down from here to here. Let's generate. And the looks pretty good actually, those lead-ins. So we're coming in, running around, cleaning up that island. So let's go to level by level replay, or plane by plane. Let's rewind, step through. So it kind of comes down, yellow approach, around, dark blue retract, retracts upwards, rapids over, rapids down a little bit, and then gets into that 75 thousandths approach. So we go down 6 levels, and then there's a final retract up to the retract plane for the final retract move. So let's do material removal simulation one more time with that profiling operation included. Let's switch back here to continuous replay of tool. Let's run through. And there we go. So we had machining of the open pocket and then a final profiling operation just to clean up and remove some of that excess material so that we have it ready to do a final finishing pass once we've machined out the pocket below. Okay, so I'm sure you probably did things a little bit differently in your attempt at this. Maybe you did not use the when you did the pocketing operation, maybe you did not use the back and forth option. But if you did and you had that issue with the island, adding that profiling operation as I did is one way to deal with that. So in the next videos, we'll look at dealing with these remaining pockets. And we're getting very close to being done with this. Of course, we have to do quite a few hole operations, and we'll cover those in later videos.